Hey, welcome. So you can see me. Feel good. Let's see. It's good right there. Welcome. We got 1 minute, and we'll be getting started. That's how I was going to start trying to get on at 5:09. That's going to be my goal for this year. So by 5:10, I'll be all logged in. And when you all join me at 5:11, I will be home and on time. So welcome to Tea Time with Kitty. It's now 5:11, so if I could welcome my first guest, and we'll just wait for a few more people to join. Um, Today we will be talking about unexpected deaths. Um, I unfortunately I lost another pillar from our church today, and this person was really special. Hey, Shamika, and she lived a long life. And Shamika actually has been wanting me to do this topic for right before the holidays, but I didn't really want to focus on it too much around the holidays because that's really a tough time for people. Um, but it's something that has really been bothering me. Just losing so many people back to back. Now I know that we all know that elderly persons have once they reach an age, we know that it's normal for them to be going to be with their Lord and Savior. However, in a lot of cases, I shouldn't say however, but in a lot of cases, they tend to sometimes outlive us as well. But because of a lot of controversy that has been surrounded around like the COVID vaccination, and things that it does to persons' bodies hey there, that's dealing with other health issues. I wanted to just talk about it. So, with that being said, I guess my first question for you all is: do you all feel that we have been losing more elderly people? And I know some of us are going to probably feel like we just been losing people in general. Now, I know violence. We're not talking about violence because I know that violence plays a big part, and that's one way that people's lives are normally ended sooner than other. But I'm talking about natural causes, and we're going to dig into that really deep when we're talking about that. So if there's anyone else out there who has noticed that there has been a high amount of elderly persons passing. So I'm going to take it back a little bit further because I'm almost 50. So I've noticed that a lot of people around the age of 50 and up has been passing. So is that just me? Because that's what I started out to say. Is it just me or is anyone else noticing that? If you're not able to chat, you can always send me a text, or if you're not comfortable chatting, you can always send me a text at 202-758-8941. Again, that's 202-758-8941. But what I need to know right now, is it just me or has anyone else noticed that there has been a huge increase of deaths? And then I'm going to go into the other part as it relates to that. Do anyone else notice that? If you could just chime in, because I can't even start to count now. When I was growing up, like I was often say, back in the 80s, when DC was the murder capital, late 80s, early 90s, a lot of deaths happened, and it really was really traumatizing as a teenager to be at school with someone one day and they go on the next. But most of those deaths were related to violence. Most of it was like persons being shot, very little stabbed, but for the most of it, people was being shot and killed. So that's not what I'm really speaking of now. I'm speaking of people that died from what we would consider natural causes. So Shamika says, Mom, hey, sister, Mom, we are just losing people in general from a lot of different things, but they cannot say, okay, so I get it that we're losing it from a lot of different things. So meaning that if you know someone that died from a car accident, a stabbing, a gunshot, a OD, those types of things, we can identify where their death's coming from. But I'm talking about all these people that we're losing, and we're just assuming that it's because of their age. And I want to talk more about that. I want to know, is it just me or is anyone else noticing that? Because if it's not just because of their age, then what's going on? So what I mean about digging into it a little deeper is, hey, Donald, I want you all to understand that that autopsies are not automatically done. So first and foremost, I want you all to pay attention and be educated that most of the time when someone dies and they've had any history, any health issue going on, most of the time, if they don't see any foul play, they will rule it whatever that is. So, you can be taking blood pressure pills. And I know one of the most common ones that they automatically diagnose people with is dying of a heart attack. So if you ever had a history of cancer, your cancer can be in remission, and they'll still say that the person died of cancer, right? Hey, Marty, Mont. So, and I know of a lot of situations, but I want to hear people chime in because I know that some of us are so, if the government wanted to get us, they would have got us by now, this, that, and the other. And this may not be a whole task of the government just trying to get us. That may not even be just the case. It just could be if my immune system is already composed, and I am older and I've been dealing with a health issue for all these years, and then I'm vaccinated, not saying that vaccination is it, but I get vaccinated, and then 3 months later, the health issue that I've been dealing with so well, now all of a sudden you're saying that that's why I died. Like that doesn't sit well. I mean, I want us to educate and open our minds a little bit more and think about that. Thank you, sis. Yeah, and really, truly, look at it and think about that, because see, the other flip side to it is we don't know, and it's not a matter of not trusting the government. I've heard so many people with different types of vaccination stories. Some people go, they don't have no issues. Some people go and have issues. Some people has gotten really ill after the booster shot. So, and this is not just all related to COVID. It could just be some chemical or something that's not balanced in our body. And because we just want to believe everything that we're told, we're not questioning it. Like, and I know that I can, and I know, and let me say this, because I do know this as well. A lot of people, unless someone is murdered or in a car accident, we as a society has been trained and taught not to ask how someone died. But I want that to stop today. Okay. I want that to stop today on January 19th. It should be a way that you ask, because I mean, yeah, we don't want to walk up when someone just lost someone, but if you have a good relationship, like let me tell y'all this, like I like it here and I don't got no plans of leaving. I ain't messing with God's clock at all. But if I go here with all that's going on now, I want Pookie and Yanni to be able to say what happened to me, and I want a whole heap of people behind them supporting it. I want Pookie and Yanni to be able to go into my account and pay for an autopsy for me. I don't want them just to say, okay, the police came out. Ain't nobody just like, okay, here go 3 medication bottles. She died from this. No, that should not be enough. And we need to start lobbying and advocating for our community that these things need to take place, that these autopsies need to happen. No more. I feel they should just give us some answers to it. Why is it so? Why is it so secretive? And granted, I know that in the beginning stage, when you just lost someone, you don't want to talk about it. But at the end of the day, this is also what several doctors have said would happen. And after receiving the second dose, we would start losing our people 6 months to 18 months after. Some say 6 months to 1 year, but a lot of them say 6 months to 18 months later. So we don't even want to know. So are we just going to say, oh, nobody knows what they're talking about? Because all of them are doctors. It's doctors who saying you should get it. It's some doctors that's challenging saying you shouldn't. I feel like it's something for each his own. Whatever you want to do for your body. I do have issues with jobs and governments forcing people to get something that they don't have the true answers to. A whole nother show and another topic. But again, if you are close to someone, I don't mean you hear your coworker pass and you playing on a family phone that you don't even know asking. But if it's somebody that you're close to, get involved. Know how this person passed. Because that's one thing that I was told, not totally sure, didn't do a lot of research, but I was told that the autopsy is something that the insurance won't pay for, because you know how the insurance money normally comes later down the line. But do you all really want to know, or is this sitting well with you? Like I said, I may be just a little bit over the edge because I lost another member from church, and I can't even count on my hands how many people we have lost over the past year at my church. Now, granted, some of the, my church is older, it's been around, we have a lot of seniors, but also we have a lot of young people, and we've lost people that's midway about my age. So that to me is very, very, very concerning. So again, is there anyone else has noticed that we are losing? I'm not talking about 80. I'm talking about we're losing good folks at 50 and 60, that some of them have overcome the ailment that they were dealing with. Some of them, situation is, just not that severe, but we're constantly losing them. And I want us to know that it's not okay. So at this time, I'm just going to take a step back, and I really, really, really just want to hear from you all to make sure that it's just not a kiddie issue. I'm not overly being agitated because of my heart being heavy against today. Let's see. Yes, I want to know, and I need to know, want answers, and want my family to rather rally together to get answers. Yes, how do you get them to rally together to get answers? Like this is something that, oh my gosh, I can't even start to think how many people that we have lost at my church. I can't think of nobody as young as I, but definitely in the ballpark, maybe a few years older than myself. But how do we, really get that information? Yes, you want to know. Okay, thank you, Dayon. So how do we truly get the answer? So first, hold on. Let me back up a little bit. Where did the term come from that you can't ask how people died? Help me with that. Let's start right there. Where did that come from? Because I know I've always told that it's rude, but where actually did that come from? Okay, Shamika want to know. Do anyone know? Because I just want to make sure it's just not something grandma said and we adapted it and then we telling our grandkids. Because I ain't telling now and y'all now. I'm going to tell them to be respectful of the time and the manner, because everything is not right at that time, right? But where did that what makes it private? What makes it private? For me, I think it's the way people approach. Okay, the way people approach it. Okay, so what makes it so private? I'm still asking to know what makes it private. Do not comment on someone's post about their degree. Okay, so that makes sense. That's definitely okay. I like that. So definitely don't go to social media and say how they died or what happened. But for people that you're close to, like my sisters, like my HSS, my sisters mean everything to me, like my brothers. So Pookie and Yanni could share with them how I passed. And I'm thinking most of these people are not even died from personal things like HIV. And I know someone said before, COVID is not a bad thing. It wasn't something you caught having unprotected sex. So what is going on? My kids know how close I am to my sister Karen and my sister Flood. They know how close I am to them. So those are people, or Lewis, those are people that they could come to. They know how close I am and how my Aunt Fizzy and my Uncle Maurice mean the world to me. My mom and dad, like, those are people that can come to my kids and say, hey, what happened? And I'm hoping out of those names that I'm calling out, someone would say, oh, and I can't forget my two little sisters, Dr. Greenwood and Officer Brodus. Those are people that can come to my children and get an answer, because it may be something that in their group that they're dealing with that they can't really fathom around. I know. Let me read this one. Okay. Also, what makes it private is if it really should not matter to you, particularly like if it's cancer runs in someone's family and the person not related to them, why do they need to know? Well, what I'm speaking of, the reason why they need to know is like to speak to these unidentified deaths. So I definitely get, if it wasn't a whole big stink going on with people just passing and no one knowing the reason why, then I get it. We can go back to that private mode. But right now, the private mode is not going to work because we're losing everybody. So do we just let everybody continue to die off because death is private? Is that anyone's thought? Like, leave it alone. Death is private. They're gone. And that be there. Or should it be concerning? Like, should it be concerning right here today? I know that, like, what's another example I had when talking about how people pass and okay, well, what about this? Even if you feel like people shouldn't prowl in and ask, okay, so what about this direction of it? What about if you start to feel comfortable once you're feeling better a few months down the line and you're ready to talk about it? Okay, so sister, I understand what you're saying, because it seems like they are blaming everything on COVID. Yes, they barely mention unidentified Right. So is it COVID or is it your unidentified issue? But if there's no autopsy, we really don't know, right, sis? Yes, private mode apparently no longer exists anyway, since we have to tell each other our vaccination status. Okay. Hey, sis, you say you just got here, so we're just talking about unidentified deaths. Um, I lost another member of my church today. Of course, she was older, but it has really weighed heavy on my heart because I am very close to the members of my church, and just losing so many over the past year or so has been really, really, really beginning to bother me a lot. So I want to know, where did it come from that we cannot ask how people died? So they all talked about you know it on social media. You should never be saying it on social media, which I totally agree. You shouldn't be sharing it there. My sister Karen talked about them blaming everything on COVID. And so is that true? Or do we even really know if it was a heart attack, or do we know it was COVID? Because we talked about most deaths that does not have any suspicious related going on with it. They don't do autopsy. So whatever they think the cause or the nature of death is, that's what they jot down and it goes here. And I just want to know, thank you. And I just want to know, just a sweetie pie, someone I love. She was our church clerk. So very, very, very pillar in the church. And thank you all so much. Just keep praying for my church, because it's going through a lot of changes aside from dealing with so many deaths. We just utilized the mother of our church last Friday, and to hear not even a week later, we didn't lost someone else. So, and I think the week before that, it was a member of my church as well that passed. So I do want to yeah, definitely please keep my church in prayer. I definitely appreciate that. But I just want to know, right. So that's where I'm at. So why can't we ask what happened when people put it on? So okay, so I get on social media. So Yanni said don't ask on social media, but I think it should be a sidebar. So what I was gonna say is, when I talk about one of my closest friends, Benita, who passed away, and this is not only for COVID. So let me give you the background of this a little bit. So it was New Year's Day of 2020. Hold on, because this is 22. So 2020 it was New Year's Day of 2020. Okay, my mother told me it was rude, but it's how you say it. When my mom had cancer, some lady she knew was like, "You lost so much weight, you need to stop." Oh, oh my God. Oh yeah, you should have called. We could have gave it to her to get. Why? Now that's definitely something people shouldn't do. That definitely. So me and her was having a talk on the phone, and when she was, her family came out and told me that she had cancer. And we talked and we cried and we prayed. But I asked her, I said, well, Nita, how do you know that those buildings that you work in don't cause cancer? Because she worked with our other friend Sherelle aunt, who had just passed, or I think around that time had passed from cancer, and they worked in the same building. And some of those buildings, those old buildings, I think they said they had like a what is it called, asbestos? I think that's asbestos, right? And they were really old, and that was part of the reason why studies showed that they paid people working in those buildings like GPO and them even more money because of the quality of the buildings. So, and I said, you need to look into that to make sure something in that building ain't getting y'all sick. So she said, I know you're right, Kitty. She said, but I just want to go through this and get better, and then I am going to look into it. But unfortunately, Nita never got better. A few months later, she passed. So that still sits in the back of my head, and she wanted to go back and find that out. So that's what I mean when I say we're just taking death and not doing anything about it. Now, I know we can't stop it, and I know people have different beliefs about some when God wants us, or when other people intervene with God's, timing on our clock. So many different studies. Not getting into that. But what I'm really trying to understand is, why do we leave it alone? And sometimes you need someone to help that person, because if you're dealing with it right then and right now, your mindset is not worried about all those types of things. So that's where a strong family friend or somebody comes in and get answers for you. Oh, thank you so much for sending your prayers, best friend. Thank you so much. But that's when someone else step in. So again, are you all found? Or maybe it's not everyone else. Maybe it's just me that's noticing a lot of deaths. But is there anyone else that finds that there's a lot of people dying and we don't really know why? Is there anyone else experiencing that? And because I got so many texts while y'all thinking and waiting to write, because I got so many texts about this yesterday, I want to make sure that everyone knows that the government is giving out 4 COVID tests per address. Please look into that. And I want to send a happy birthday out to my sister Radiance, HSS, and she has now joined us in the 40/40 club. So happy birthday to her and any other January birthdays I may have missed. Oh, I got Camille last week, but again, y'all said I can't miss Camille. So again, happy birthday to my best friend. We celebrated her on Friday, but I also gave her shout out last week. But it's never too much. It's overwhelming. My dad definitely passed from a heart attack, but I'm not sure was it that. Oh, right. So okay. So again, they didn't do autopsy or anything, right? Mika said that he had a heart attack. They just went off his history, correct? Thank you, Sanaya. So did they just go off his history, or was they able to confirm that? Not too loud, Yanni. Any yeah, so were you able to get and I know that probably was challenging because you probably couldn't get much information when really you would have been a great go-to person for that because you would have had answers for them with that situation. But what is your take as it relates to that, Mika? It was at the hospital, but who knows? Right. Because that's the thing. Like, and it's not to say that anything is foul play or anything, but they're all in this together. I know my sister had told me with her daughter years ago. I mean, not years ago, but a while ago, something had happened, but they tried to say that it was COVID, and it wasn't even COVID. So it's just weird that it's happening so much. Everyone is allegedly dying from heart. Everyone is dying from heart attacks. And I do know that COVID attacks the heart. I do know that. It's just look at balls. Okay. Yes, it happened to my dear sister. They signed a death certificate with pre-existing condition. The autopsy was 5,000, and if you didn't have the money, that's not truly knowing the cause, and that's what I'm hearing from everybody. Because with me, people have shared, and I know that it's touchy, and I haven't even asked, and people have shared things with me. But again, a lot of it is heart attack. So I want to know what kind of study, because you all are studying, trying to make sure everyone's vaccinated. But are you studying to see, because everybody body makeup is different, are you giving doses of the COVID vaccine based on someone's weight? Is it based on someone's age? I don't know all of this, but I think that that's some things that we should start looking into is the COVID, because I know like with medication and stuff, sometimes it's done by weight. As well as age. So is that something that they may need to look at with the vaccine? Because you're saying that everyone's dying of a heart attack, but are you giving it too much? I know that when they first started giving the COVID shot to children 12 and up, 5 to 12, a hospital in VA had gave all these kids the adult dosage of the COVID, and they and the children got really sick. I didn't hear of any children dying from it, but the children was really bad off sick. So what they did was, instead of giving them the second dose, they let that one dose be sufficient for their vaccine, right? So anything else, and you all know that you can always send in your topic, anything that's on your mind. Even if you don't want it to come directly from you, it can come from me. But I think that there's just so many things that we need to know the answer to. And of course, we'll never know everything. But we do want the CDC, we do want the government to understand that we're noticing a pattern. And as citizens that's paying tax dollars, we should be able to have some answers to this, because what is going on in the air, even if it's not COVID related at all, but what is going on in the air that's making so many people have heart attacks? And I feel like more people was working back then than now, because a lot of people retired. I'm sorry. A lot of people retired after COVID. I know a lot of older people in my job didn't come back. And a lot of people said, I'm gonna get this unemployment, it's more money to stay home. So I don't think that people are more overworked now, unless you probably in like the healthcare field, or a fireman, or police, first responder. But I think outside of that, I do feel like people are not truly overworked. Like most people are able to work in their work from home. And even those going in, they have modified the work schedules, right? So what do you all think? Like, what is your input? Like, is this something? Because, I'll get a letter started, and I know Mika helped me. And, we can send it in. And we just want to know, can they revisit the dose? So this is what I want you to do right now, right? All of us that's vaccinated, and it's not really, like I said, I haven't really seen it affecting too many people under 40, right? But I've definitely seen a great hike in deaths amongst 50 to 70, right? Okay. What I want us to start doing is, what I want us to start doing, if you have a parent or if you have a grandparent and they are vaccinated, and that's something that people are pretty much sharing, jot down when they were vaccinated. Okay. Do that for me. Jot down when they were vaccinated and just monitor it to make sure that they're still here with us in 2 years. Right. And I don't think that that's too much to ask. Jot down when they were vaccinated. And I'm asking if they are vaccinated and if you lost them within 2 years. We're not talking about 40 and under. 45, my main focus is about 50 to 70. If you're finding that those persons are passing on at that 2-year mark, and I think what, sister? Yeah, and if they're at that mark, then you can say woo, but if not, watch that, monitor that, and see what you get from it. So again, it's any family members, and I think that they first started administering the COVID test at the end of 20 or 21. Do anybody know when did they first start administering it to persons with health issues? Because and that was my issue with it. Why do you want to give it to people with the health issues? Because those will be the easiest ones to justify their death. That's what y'all know I'm an overthinker. My sister Tangi sent me something today about not being an overthinker. It was really deep, loved it. So I'm working on that, and I have definitely gotten better with that. But I mean, I still, haven't acquired, my head not that big, but I am an overthink. I got a lot going on in here. I will say that. But I definitely want to know, like, monitor that, if nothing else. And then you can decide and say, hey, I want to dig a little further in this. But I just want you to remember that if they were vaccinated and they have not gotten past that 2-year mark, do me a favor and just try to ask a few more questions. And you may not get all the answers. You may not get all the answer. And I know it, but just do that for me, because so far the people that I have known, and it's not everybody, so not every death that I've just known of lately, but I would say about 8 other people within the past year, they all did have health issues. So I definitely would agree with that. But they all were vaccinated. And I just want to see if there's any correlation between the two. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. If someone has been dealing that, if it's a new illness, it's hard to really understand or know what direction to go in. But if it has been something that has been under control, I take HCTZ, like a fluid pill. And if I probably could lose about 40 more pounds, I probably may not even need them again. But I take this. And I actually, they recommended it for me when I first had Yanni, but I never would take it then. But then as I started getting older and started taking my health serious, and they say that high blood pressure is the silent killer and all those types of things, I started to do a little bit better with it, right? And this has been controlled. And I want to say, I want to say that I may have been taking it 10 or 15 years. Thank God they never had to change it. Like, they did change it because they don't like you to have one. So that's why I drink so much water. But just on that note, sharing that with you all, I wouldn't want blood pressure that I'm controlling now, not eating pork, staying away from as much fried food. All these things that I do right now with blood pressure that I didn't do then. I wouldn't want them to come back and tell y'all that the blood pressure took me out. So I want to let y'all know right now that they lying. Because when I would be going to see RE, we would go get fried chicken wings after the go-go. I ain't doing none of that. For the most part, I bake just about everything. So the way I used to eat 10 years ago, not totally there yet. Not saying that it's perfect or saying that it couldn't happen. I'm just saying I would want you all to ask a few more questions, because I am very conscious of what I eat. I drink plenty of water. I eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. And my skin has showed me, because it has this glow back, right? And the one thing that I know about people, and I would notice in my own mom, when people are sick, you'll normally see it in their eyes. I've heard somebody say somewhere else, but I know I can tell it in their eyes, and I can tell it like my mom, when she's sick, her feet will swell up around the ankle part. So those are some things that let me know that when, and we all know sometimes losing weight is a red flag. I even heard that gaining too much weight can be a red flag. But those are some things that I have noticed. So normally you'll see things in people, but don't let people tell you anything. Like, there is no medical doctor more qualified for you and your family than yourself. And part of that is you educating yourself. Believe it or not, you can find out a lot of information about Google and stuff. When you hear stuff, don't say, oh, they lying or they lying. Just take it into consideration. Do your own research and then make a decision. Let no one topic or one situation be the rule for your decision making. So again, I think it's very important that you take care of yourself. I think it's very important that you need to do what's best for you, your household, and your family. But I do think that you knows what's best for you and your family. You know when something doesn't seem right. So if it does not seem right to you, it may not seem right to someone else. So reach out, take advantage of your resources, let your knowledge and experience work for you. Drink yourself a nice cup of tea and join me next week for Tea Time with Kitty. And thank you all so much for sipping with a sister. Thank you.